Hi everyone, welcome to another Disney Infinity tutorial. As you'll notice, this week's episode is called How to Be John Wick. And if you haven't seen John Wick, it's probably one of the best action films ever. I know it's a bit hard statement, but I just love it. As you'll see the challenges, you play as John Wick and you take revenge on the Russian gangsters that killed your dog. That's right, yep, he killed your dog. So the closest character I've got that looks like John Wick is Han Solo. So as you'll see here, the basics of this game is a wave of enemies, and every time I get a new wave the whole landscape changes, as you've just seen there. So we have a new so it changes every single time. So you'll see now enemies have appeared and you have to go and kill them, and as the game goes on it gets harder and harder. So we have a few to start with, so let's kill these off. Now I've got it on easy mode, so should last quite long. Oh, again. Right, right, okay. Now if it hasn't changed, it means there is someone still about. Where is he? Come on. Must be around here somewhere. There he is. He's over there. Right, wave 2. As soon as wave 2 comes, the land changes, everything changes. And that's what basically I'm going to show you. It's going to show you how to get this game to work. Now, the reason why I've done this, had I had this plan, I do get a lot of you saying that some of my clips are too complicated, they're too hard to do, you don't have the time. Now, I was able to do this game within about a couple of hours. Yeah, I didn't know more than that, and I'd probably tweak it a little bit more, but the video's taken longer to put together than the actual game. But you'll see here that the game keeps on changing, so the design of it, I don't have to be worried about it too much. And we've got another wave, and it keeps changing again. Now the cool thing with this level is that because the landscape keeps on changing, right, and we keep forgetting it actually throws you off. So where you get to know where certain places are, I forget that I'm either at the beginning or I'm at the end. It does confuse you, which is quite good, which does make each level quite fresh. It doesn't actually, even though it's the same map, it doesn't keep it the same part. Now I've also put in little treasures so we can redo our health, but they only open at certain times. Okay, and I've done, in this particular game, I've done 15 waves, and at each 5 levels I have a boss fight. Okay, and on the last level, which I haven't showed in this clip, you play Darth Vader, and I've unlocked the pitch black sky. So everything goes pitch black, and I have lightning strikes appear in this particular level. But all I'm showing here in this particular case is how to set the waves up, yeah, and how to get the landscape to change. Now that particular one didn't change in that version. That's quite cool. I've now got Mandalorian guards in this one. Now you'll notice they're getting harder and harder between each stage.
You're no match for a blaster.
So see, I was doing quite not too bad. Now on the boss fights, try different ones. Because obviously I've got Darth Vader as the henchman. The son, in this case, the final person you have to beat is the Hulk. And the first bodyguard you've got to do is Boba Fett. Now I have to say, as a boss fight, Boba Fett is really easy to kill. Yeah, so you'll see here, each stage I have a bit more story. Okay, they're all dead. And then Boba Fett will appear. I've called him Marco in this particular case. And in comes Boba Fett. Now he's really easy to kill, so before he walks up to me, I can get most of him down. But I tell you a person I found really hard, Darth Maul. He's one of my characters. He is so hard to defeat. But I can have him. Is he a jump away? It takes too easy, but he was an easy one to kill, so I'd probably change him. Wave 6. But the landscape keeps on changing. So I'm going to go through this clip now and just show you all the different effects how we've got. But it's quite cool. And I say it's not a bad game, but very easy to do. So I hope you enjoy the rest of the clip. So let's build it from scratch. So what we've got is just got a plain map, and I've added some text tools already. Okay, so I've added some various items. So you see I've got a game maker. Yeah, I've put in my little text options. and I've got different things to be said at different times. Yeah. So in here I've got the text box on what happens when we win and get to the end. This is what happens when we don't and we die. These have got our waves, so wave 1, wave 2, wave 3. So I've actually set up the text on there so I can have all up to 20 waves. Yeah, so set those all up. Yeah. Now again, if you're not on your, if these aren't created in your template after the 3rd of March, you cannot do that. So you just have to get them to kill up one at a time. And these text boxes are, each one of these are for the different stages of the story. Yeah, and I've taken quotes from the film John Wick, which if you haven't seen, I mean it is a 15, but I'm pretty sure most kids have seen all these films anyway. But it is really good. So they're all set up, ready to go. Okay, so the game maker will start us off. So what we're going to do is going to build in the first wave. So we need our some logic gates. Right, and that's going to be our starting point. And the main emphasis on this structure is layout. Okay, if you lay out the game nice and neatly, yeah, you'll be able to follow it, you'll be able to edit it, and that's hopefully what I'm going to show you in this clip. Is as long as you lay out the pieces in the correct order, you'll be able to follow your logic and not get messed. So at this presently case, we're not worried about map, we're just worried about getting the waves to appear. So that logic gate is our first one. And that starts off. So when we get our game started, I'm going to pass it here. It's going to start our particular game going. Okay, so that then puts our signal through. Okay, we need a few other options. I need 2 more logic gates either side, and they are going to control the change of environment. One is for the terrain, and one is for the buildings to change. Okay. I'm also in this particular one, because I want some text to appear, is my time delay to display the text. And then we need our wave generator to have our wave generator appear. So because we have a little bit of story apart, I do need that time delay in there. Okay, so that basically is our gate on this particular case. Right, I'm also going to need a sky changer. So I'm going to bring this sky changer to, and I'm going to place this here. Okay, I only need one of these. And that sky changer is going to change the scene, the sky of different objects. And I need one more tool, and that is going to be my world transformation, wherever it is. So let's go back up. And I think I did one of these with a Darth Vader, how to defeat Darth Vader with a nice lolly. There you go. Theme transformer, that's what it's called. Right. So this is the setup, just one wave. Okay, so let's set the logic up for that. Very nicely, easily laid out. Okay, right. So as I say, they're all our pre-text boxes that I've set up before, and that is the first one. And you'll see that I've laid them across in order so I know which ones they are. So if you go into the properties of this box, you'll see here I've got it, John, let's not resort to our baser instincts. So a quote from the film, which strangely enough got passed on the Disney check. So I've got my quote in. You'll notice that I've got it every 2 seconds, yeah, and I've got it banner. So there's theoretically 10 seconds worth of time displayed to appear. So I'm going to move that now next to my wave. So I've set it up first, but I'm moving it so I know that it's related to this wave. Okay, I'm just going to click that in there. Now that it's set up, let's do the logic. So when the game starts, okay, so we do logic on this particular setting. So we go down, new logic connection, when game started, right, can I input a signal into that logic gate? So that says let's get this going. So from here I now can control various objects. Yeah. So new logic connection on output of this gate. Can I send a input into this logic gate? And can I send another input to the other logic gate? Now the reason why I need 2 logic gates is because they're going to both go into transformers, and you can only have one output per object, and they need to do 2 different things. So on this output from here, I'm going to output this logic gate. This is going to point to the transformer. And what I'm going to say here is, right, can you do the world theme? And I've got 2 options, terrain and population clusters. I'm going to do terrain, and I'm going to pick a particular environment that I want. So I've chosen the Metro City one. Okay, so that's set up. Now in this case, when I do this one, I'm going to do new logic connection on output, input into this logic gate. And now this allows me to reconnect back to the world transformer. So I'm going to do a new logic connection on there on output. I'm going to connect that to the world transformer. Now this time it's world theme, but I'm going to choose the population clusters, and that's where you use all those fancy objects that will change, and I'm going to keep them into the same environment. Now from here I don't need a logic gate, I can go straight to the sky changer. So new logic connection, on output, yeah, and go straight to the sky changer, and I'm going to change the sky. And you got either have it random, you could just do it random if you wanted, so you don't have to worry about it, but I'm going to choose the Disney Infinity one because I think that's where it is. I'm going to try and match these all up. There we go, virtual reveal sky. So I've got them now all linked up. That now will change the environment, and that will change the sky. Right, so now I've got that, I'd like the message to be displayed. Yeah, so I'm going to do a new logic connection. On output, can we start the delay? Yeah, so start the delay. And that gives enough time for the message to appear before I start getting attacked. Yeah, and like I said, there are 8 seconds in that particular group. So on here is properties on this one, and I had so many boxes, so I said about 10 seconds, I think. So you have 2 because I did 2 seconds per each message. Okay, so once that's finished, then I know the message has almost been finished. So in that case, then what I'm going to do here is on output of that box. So when we start off this mission, so we start it off, get the text going straight away. So I'm going to say display the text immediately. Right, and I've set that up so that it will go text 1, text 2, text 3, and show all the messages. So those two get triggered at the same time. So when theoretically the messages are finished, the wave should be there. So on time delay complete, can we generate the wave? Okay, so we're going to generate that wave, and that's going to get me enemies to appear. Now obviously I want to start the first wave as quite an easy level. Okay, so I've started off on this particular case, and I also want a place where I want them to appear. So I need a locator, and I'm going to stick this locator here. This is where I'm going to get the enemies to spawn. So on this case, let's go to the properties, new locator connection. I'm going to connect it to that particular point. Yeah, spawn location is there, and then I can, so that's where it's going to appear, and we'll move those later. Okay, if I then go back to my properties of the wave, actually go to properties, I must switch it, so I don't want to delay in each character. Yeah, so I'm going to switch those to 0, otherwise it's going to take 4 seconds for each one to appear. I don't want that, I want them to all appear at one go. There's no team related, and I could switch that option to team. If you look back at my clip on how to create a survival game, you can have wave after wave after wave of enemies to appear. And in this case I'm going to keep them easy. I'm going to keep the gangster style, so I'm going to use the sailors, which is down here at the bottom. And we'll have him first. I'm going to have 4, so I have 5 of those. Nice and easy. Right, that is our wave 1 done. Yeah, all sorted, all completed. That's it. Okay, and it all triggers from that one game, fires that message into the box, and it will follow all the way through to again. Now what we're going to do is, as we go up this map, we're going to put each wave in, and we're going to structure it that way accordingly. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we'll add in the second wave, but that is done, and that is all we need to do. That's the logic we're going to repeat again and again and again. So let's do our wave 2 option. So we're going to do a wave 2. What we're going to do is, what starts it? Well, if it was the same thing we did on the last game, we did a logic gate. So let's go back to a logic gate. Okay, where was logic gate? Where is it? There you go. We're going back to logic gate. Now this is a true point. So I'm just going to leave a little gap between the two, because this now starts the second wave, and I'm going to structure it this way. And if you keep the structure in the right place, yeah, it makes it so much easier for you to follow what you've done. So they're my 2 logic gates to transform the area. Now there was just one little change here, and that change is, at this stage I don't need any story text to be told. Yeah, so in this particular case there's no time delay. After wave 1 there's going to be 2, 3, 4, then we have another story again. So it actually doesn't need a time delay at this point. I just need the enemy. So you'll see here I miss out the option to have little text story, but I am going to need to tell them we're on wave 2. Okay, so on this logic here we're going to say, right, new logic connection. Yeah, when enemy, not what enemy though, and that's where you make sure I get between the two, not enemy, it's got to be wave. When wave's defeated, yes, so we've deleted that, can we trigger the second wave? So can we input a signal into our second one? Now we just repeat the exact same process. So new logic connection on output. Okay, can we go back to our first text box? And I've lined it up so I know where it is. And can we display text 2? Because the first one was wave 1, and I don't actually say wave 1, it's only once we get into the game. Yeah. So we're going to do another again, new logic connection on output. Can we now input into these 2 gates? So input into there. New logic connection on output. Let's input into that one. And again, these are going to change the whole map again. So this is what's going to change my map. And I could have done it after each stage, but I did it every single stage just to highlight this particular feature. So on output, we're going to reconnect this to our transformer tool. But what I'm hoping you'll see in here is there's nothing complicated here at all. Yeah, it really isn't. You pick out your environment, and we're just going to keep repeating these processes. And the nice thing here is you can keep adding to it. You can add more special effects to it, or you can just keep it straightforward, simple, and just do it one wave after another. So I'm going to add a few things to it, but again, this is really all the level needs to be done, and every time it can be different. You could have left it random instead of using an environment here where you pick different options. I'm picking certain things that I want it to appear as. You could leave these random every single time, so it's different every time you play it. But sometimes you get a weird mix. You might have snow and indoor trees, but different options. Okay, I'm going to pick the landscape to go with here. Let's see, as I'm trying to find the ones that I want so they all match up. Okay, so there's my San Francisco star skies. So I've got them all changed. So that now triggers all the environment change. I've got the message saying wave 2. So all I need to do now is new logic connection on output. Can we generate the wave? And now all I need to do now is make the wave a little bit harder. Okay, so in this case, we can go down to the properties of this wave. We can change off the delay so I want them to instantly appear so there's no waiting. Yeah. And so now I've got that. Now I can go and configure the wave, how much the wave to be, and I'm going to just increase the wave characters. So this time I'm going to shoot all the way down to the bottom, pick my gangsters, and each time I've got different items and I can have harder characters. Now another thing you could do is you could use the change the view of the game and have the aerial camera so you're looking from above. So you can do it like the Takeover toy box story. But I'm just going to add a couple of characters in there to make it a little bit harder. So I've just added 2, but now what I'm going to do instead is increase the numbers. And the thing I'm getting out of this clip is if you organise where you use the gates, you'll see here I'm not worried about the map because the map itself is going to be placed directly above all this logic. And by doing this, what it allows you to do is you can organise what is going to happen. Yeah, and then you can go back and edit it and find it. But if you go and build and add things to it, it can get very messy and trying to find that. And all I'm worried about at the moment is get the logic correct, and then we will build over the top of this. And there's my locator. Obviously need the locator to tell it where to go. Okay. And now for this particular option, I'm going to repeat this for 3, 4, and on 5 would slightly change, it'll be a different timer. So I'm just going to now add the other stages in, so we'll now put in our boss fight after this part. But that's our next wave, and we'll just go and repeat the same again for the next option. So you'll see here now, I've just rearranged these slightly, and you'll see I've moved my logic gate side by side. But here and now we're looking at the second part of our story. Okay, so this story here is now tells us that we've killed all his men and he needs backup, and I want to send him Marco, as I showed you in our first clip. So we're going to bring that across and we're going to drag that in on this side of the screen. Okay, so these are going to go through. I've got 2, 4, 6, so therefore I've got 8 seconds of that message being displayed. Okay, so that is going to be our next part of the square. That's going to appear after our waves. And you'll see now I've structured them all going across from wave 1, wave 2, all the way through. We're now going to do our next item. So this is going to be wave 5. So same thing again, logic gate. I'm going to need 2 logic gates for the form transformation, and now you'll see here, like I said, I've just slightly changed these slightly just to line them up, and I've compacted it a little bit slightly because it was getting too large on the screen. Now this time I need to change it. This time I now need the time delay in because that needs to display the message, and then it will do the wave generator. But the wave generator is not going to happen this time because I don't want the wave generator. What I want is the boss fight. Yeah, this time it's going to be slightly difficult to bring the boss fight. Now the boss fight is a massive box, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to move this to the side. Yeah, because it takes up too much space. So I'm just going to slide that because this object I'm going to have to move at the end of the game. I'm going to have to place this on top of the map. So you see there, it's just going to get too big in the way. So I'm going to move this over here and just put it to the right screen. But you can click on the X button to move it. Right, let's have a look at the properties of this logic gate. Before I do that, let's just get that to one side out of the way. So let's just press the X and let's move this over here so it keeps it all out of the way and I can keep that logic going. That's better. Right, so let's go down to our logic. Right, and like I said, that was our next section of our game. I've laid it out in that order, so I'm going to bring that up and place that, keep it in line, and place that next to my timer. There we go. So now we've got this enemy here when they're defeated. So new logic connection when enemy defeated. So that's wave 4. Not enemy, by the way, wave defeated. Must remember that because I've made a number of mistakes when doing this clip. Input signal in here. Right, so same thing again. New logic connection on output. Can we display our message? So display text 1, and that will now say, "Oh my God, we've lost all our men." Yeah. At the same time, new logic connection on output. Can we start the delay? Okay, that delay we need to make sure it's good 8 seconds because there's 8 seconds of text. So instead of being 10 this time, I make that 8, purely just so it gives enough time for the text to be displayed, so you're not waiting around too long. Okay, when that message is displayed, new logic connection, when time delayed complete, we're now going to point to our section here, and we're going to switch it on, and that actually generates the boss. So what I need to do here now is I go to the properties of this particular item. I can choose which enemy I want. Now the first time, because this is based on the film John Wick, and John Wick is fighting the Russian gangsters, I was going to use time. And I picked down here on the list and I picked time, which is great. But the problem I find is time would have appeared, but when you choose when it's defeated, yeah, time isn't available on that list. So when I say, all right, on defeat of who, time doesn't appear, so I can't actually say on defeat. So theoretically, he wasn't any good to me. So in a moment, I'm going to have to change that, which is a little bit annoying. Right, but I'll come back to that in a moment. Right, so new logic connection on output, input a signal into that logic gate, and this is going to change the landscape again. What will tend to happen is you'll forget and you'll not choose input, you'll choose open or close, and that's where it could go. But if it goes wrong, when you play it back, you can see the code and you can go back and test it. Okay, now by the way, you could have just done 4 levels and 5 levels, that's it done. This is the game done. So if that's the case, it's a 20-minute game to make. Very quick and easy. And when I come to explain the map a bit later, as I show you how I build the map, one problem with this game is the map's too big. I keep telling you to do small maps, and I fell in for my own trap, but I'll explain it later. The reason for that is sometimes the guys get lost. When I play the game back, it got lost. I didn't have time to go re-edit it. I just thought, you know what, I'll highlight that everyone can make mistakes, and it's something I can tweak later. But obviously I've got a short time limit before all these servers get switched off, so I'm racing this clip out. If you don't think you can create toy boxes, this is the one you can do. Yeah, this is the one you can build it, and then you can do it on any level. And theoretically, even if the servers are switched off, you can build this. You don't need text. There is boxes you could do next wave, and that's it. That's the only one phrase that you need. So you'll see here, I'm just changing the landscape, I'm changing the terrain, and I'm changing the clusters. Right, so that there is now set up. That's our enemy, and we now have the big boss fight. So what we need to do now is we need to build it. Yeah, you know, notice, look, I'm running out of space. Now, if I was more organised, I'd probably compact it together, but I sometimes like it quite airy. So what we're going to do is, let's chuck in the ground. Let's chuck in the next piece. Right, let's push this down. Don't know why I twisted that round there. Okay, I'm going to put the ground on there, and we're now going to carry on just going along, keeping it organised, not moving it out of place so it gets messy, so I can follow this all the way up the next wave, the next 5 waves from here. Okay, so we're going to show you how we do that at different stages. I'm going to show you what we do when we say that that enemy's been Now what I've done here is I've just added the logic directly after the thing, and you'll see here I'm changing the properties of the box back to Boba Fett, and that's because you don't have defeat of that item. So what I've jumped to this stage is you'll see I've added, this is the time delay when the wave's completed, the time's finished, and when it's completed it does the spawn, right, turns on the enemy. Now you'll see here I've now added the next wave of wave 6, this is wave 6. So I'm now going to go to my new logic connection here, and when I go defeated, now this is where I couldn't find time wasn't in there, that's why I had to change it to Boba Fett. So now when I do defeated, I can do stage 6, so can I input a signal into that logic gate, and now I've now got those logics already set up. So just to speed things up, I'm going to put the next wave, so I'm now going to input a signal into that box. Yeah, that is going to do the next wave, which is going to be wave 6. So on output, can we do wave 6? Which is message text box. And we've now got the next wave, and again the same thing repeats now. There's no message on here, so on output can we do the transformation. So I've got the enemy, when the enemy dies it fires another logic gate into this gate, that then sends a signal to another wave, and it's just repeating the same thing. Nothing here I've done it just looked complicated, it's got a lot of items, but I just kept on repeating the same section again and again. And this allows you to build up on any story you've done, chuck in more waves, make it harder, they just keep on coming. And I would say, on average, keep your level around about 15. Yeah, 15 seems to be the right number. It doesn't tend to overload it too much. Right, and we'll just keep going. And when I get to wave 10, I'm going to do another boss. And then when I get to wave 14, it's going to be the Hulk, and wave 15 is going to be Darth Vader. Okay, so that's my logic gate. That's connected to there. Right, and then we're just ready to carry on building from that side. So as you can see, I've finished all the waves now. It all goes up to 15. So we've got our first set, and I just repeat this going across. So we go across from 1 up to our 5, and then we repeat the same again up to 10. Then we get our 14 and 15 where we've got Darth Vader. And if I come back, you'll see these are my boss fights that I've got at the side, and I've put them down the side of the screen. And the big thing I'm teaching today is being organised with your logic. And you can see straightforward here, I've taken it to 15 levels because I wanted to match up Battlefront. You could have done 5 levels, that was it. You didn't have to do as many of those. Some of you might get bored, says it take too long, and keep it that neat. The more of you that were more skilled with this, you can then carry on expanding it. And because you know where things are, you can set these up. So as an example here, I'm going to set some loot boxes up to try and recover that if I'm injured and I want to get some health back. Yeah, or your character quite low, that if you do get the boss fight you can use those whenever you want. So let's just grab some of these boxes. There we go, there's our loot boxes, and let's chuck some of these in. Now these can be opened at any stage in the game, but they will only reset once a boss has been killed, and then it's up to the player to use when they want to use them. So I put 5 in here. In the actual end game I think I put a lot more than that in. I realised it was too little, because I think that the problem was my map was too big. So let's look at the configure the loot. What we'll do here is we can add either the purple one or the green health one. Now if you do 2, then it's random. It'll pick randomly between the 2 of those. Yeah, so sometimes you could get the other item, and sometimes it's not going to give you health. Yeah, and you can set it that when you automatically reclose it, it will. If you auto reset after 20 seconds, it will then reclose and you'll be able to get more loot. In this case, I'm going to leave all those off. No, once it's opened, that's it. It will not reopen again unless I tell it to reset. So in this case, we're going to ignore the auto section. Right, you can only use it once per round. Right, so I'm going to set all these loots up. Yeah, and although I did the green first, it doesn't matter which one. It's random. Yeah, you may find it's all purple, so you may find you open them up and you get all purple round, and that's it for that round. Okay, so it comes across, that's that one done. So let's configure this one, and we configure them all on the screen. And I say, I think I used either 7 or 8 of these boxes, and that's because I've made the map too big. I need to go back and edit this afterwards, but I'll do that after the servers are switched off. I don't have enough time for this. Well, a couple more clips I want to get out before the 3rd of March, so you can get the text created and finish off building it afterwards. Right, so there are our little boxes there on the screen. Okay, so what triggers these? and this is where I keep saying this, right, try and separate your code. So in this case, I'm going to have a one trigger here, and that logic gate is going to reset all those items. So when I do new logic connection on output, can we reset that item? Now you don't need to use this logic gate, but that means all I have to do now to reset any of these items is just send a signal to that one logic gate, and it keeps it all nested together. And if you look at my other clips, I try to keep them pocket, so there's always a start and there's always a finish. And if you look at my last one, how to plant explosives, I tried to show you that with the way we did the let's set the first charges and let's set the second charges. Have a starting point that triggers all the logic, and an ending point, so you know you've done that stage, and then you can daisy chain these items together. And the more you play around with this, the more you can see that you can do that. Right, so I've now got all those reset. So that is the gate that does it. Okay, so my question is, when do I trigger the gate? Okay, and that is obviously when we start the game, we have to restart it, but it's going to be after each boss fight. Yeah, so we've got all the waves going across, and then therefore when we get to the first boss fight, I want it to be kill them, and then we can do that particular option. But obviously I may restart the game halfway through, so I'm going to look at my stages when we get to count, when do I want it to appear. So that there is my boss fight, because I've got my timer. Yeah, okay, and when that's killed, so therefore when I go into that second stage, stage 6, that's when I get the enemy to appear. So I'm going to say, actually I'm going to do it before the boss fight. Okay, so you need that energy just before the boss fight turns up. Yeah, so theoretically when that wave's defeated, that feeds that boss, so not wave defeated, can we go and input a signal into that gate, and that will reset those items. So I'll input there and reset those particular items. Okay, so I did this instead of after it, I did it before it. Okay, so you got there, go along that box, and we know which one's the boss fight because it's got the timer in it. So there's the one with the timer. So I'm going to go before the one again. So new logic connection. When wave defeated, I'm going to put. And so you can see how I'm separating the, because I kept it separated and laid out. I can see where that code goes. And the more I play with these toy boxes, the more I work out structure, and looking where you place it is so much easier. Those that build those complicated things then want to build up the story on top. What I find then it's really hard because all the objects are in the way and it gets very messy. So try, if you can, work out your story first in what's going to happen, and then move those objects afterwards. It's a lot easier. And you can place the map over the top, which we're going to show at this particular point. Right, but we've got all these logic gates, we'll open and close, and we'll pinpoint it through. So they all get fired through, and that now has got our effect where we can respawn those items. Now once the game's over, we may want to redo it again. So if that's our starting point and we do the game again, we could say let's reset them, whatever happens. So if you die and we have to do the whole game again, on output we'll reset that box. Okay, so that's our loot feature added. Right, now that could be, as I say, you could at any stage you could stop this now and that's your game. What we're going to add is we're going to add a feature I haven't used before. Okay, and let's just pick this up on the toy box. Okay, what this will do, this will stop you from respawning. It's the defeat manager. Okay, now it is good and it isn't good. Okay, the whole purpose of this is if you're playing as a 2-player and you get defeated, the other person has to respawn you. You cannot use the character. So in this case, look at the properties of this. Just by having this in our game, you'll see this, everything is switched on. Your figure can be revived by another player, right, or drop its currency. That is all that you need to set up with this character. That's it, done. All we know is that that won't let you respawn. So if you've got added that box, you don't need to add any logic. You just need to have it in your game. That means your person won't die in the game. It will just basically, he will then just be dead, and then you can't move any further. You have to put a different character on this list. So what we're going to show now is that now you've got that character list, what happens when you do die. Now there is a little flaw in it, that is that you can still press circle and it will go back to a checkpoint, so it does defeat the object of the respawning figure. You can get around it, so theoretically your character will still respawn, but it won't automatically do it. So what I'm going to do then is that I want to make sure that if you do die, that it'll go back to the checkpoint. So I'm going to use the checkpoint marker, and I can never find it. Where's my checkpoint? Come on. There it is. Go back, come on, go past it again. I don't know that. I want the. Oh, what I'm doing here. Oh, 1 second. That's what I want. So I want the checkpoint. Yep. So I'm just going to put the checkpoint over the side here. Okay. And I'm not going to have it set on the screen, right? But that, when we start our game, yeah, we'll start our game. When we input a signal into there, I'm going to set that as my default connection. So new local connection on output. Can we set that as our default place? So set checkpoint. That means that when I die, I'm going to respawn here. Okay, and I'm going to do it for all players. Okay. Now I don't want the player to know that, so I'm going to go to properties and I'm going to have it hidden. Yeah. So no one can see it. Alright, it's for all players. That's it on the screen. Okay. And so basically, when I die, it's then going to say, right, okay, what happens when you die on that screen? It will tell you dying and ask you to be revived. But if you press circle, it will respawn you. So it will tend to defeat the object, which is a bit annoying. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is going to be very crude. I could do something very similar to the clip I did about the team deathmatch, but make it a bit more intricate that you couldn't get out of it. But I'm going to be very crude and just going to put in a logic trigger area. So when I walk in front of that area, so I'm going to put it in front. As I walk through it, it will say that obviously you must have died. Therefore, if you enter that area, any player into that player, then one of you died, and therefore, if that's the case, you failed. So I'm going to say, right, end the game. Right, game failed. Yeah, we finished. Yeah, so you've got different options, but we're going to say that that's the end of the challenge. You failed it. You did die. Yeah. So now I know that you've died. I can display our second message and say, right, that can be displayed. So that's one our message to say you've won, which I've done the logic to. So you'll see here it says, John, it looks like you are back. Your membership to the Continental has been returned. So in this particular case here is that when you die in this case, it'll say that it looks like you should have stayed in retirement, game over. So in that case there, on that message, and again I've got it to go from one text box to the other. So we enter that there. Okay, I'm going to say on enter, can we display that message? So we've ended the challenge and we've also displayed the box. Okay, and we've now got that set up. Okay, it's on banner, it's on, I don't know why I increase that to 3, I'll move that back to 2 seconds. So I've now got the wave, I've now got it how I die. If I don't complete the wave, it will end the game, and we've got it when it finishes at the end. It will also say the game's won. Okay, all we've got to do now is we've got to build a map. Okay, and then we've got to build the map over the above of us. So when to build the map is, what I did the first time I did this, is with the map, I had it I wanted to hide this, so I had it too low. So when I wanted to change the ground, it was everything was in the way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a stupidly high box here. And the reason for that is when I come back to edit my logic, I need some space to move around. And if I've got a little bit of height, the ground won't get in the way. So I'm just sticking that there on purpose, and I'm going to build my map all above that area. Then what I'll do is I'll put the rest of the walls around the logic so no one will ever see it. Okay, it'll be hidden out of the way. So obviously I want it to be slightly overlapped on here, and I'm going to put this on the screen. Now I'm just going to show you how quite quickly to build a random map, yeah, and how your maps can look quite good. Now I got carried away with this because I was trying to show you this particular example, but the problem I found here is this map is actually too big. It needs to be slightly smaller. But what I was doing here is I was saying, well, I want to cover the land before, and I've left the logic lined up. I would probably have tidied that logic up and pushed it further down so I've got it on less boxes. But what I'm doing here is I put 4 boxes in here to make sure it was all covered. Yeah, I think I could have done it down to mostly, if you ever do this yourselves, I would do it at 2. Too deep. The 4 was way too big. Right. Now, what I wanted to is, it's a big square box. I want it to be slightly odd shaped. So I'm just going to chuck in some boxes just to change the shape of it. Right. And all I'm doing here is I'm just doing different sizes. Trying to work out a different layout I want to do on the screen. And I put these either side because I was going to have the boss fights come from that side. But again, you don't ever think that these massive boxes are that big, and they are huge. See, I can't see. I'm just placed it, not really thinking about the logic. Wanted to make sure they're all separate and different. A little square box at the end. Okay, I think that's almost there. And we'll have a starting point as well. But the map itself looks a bit plain and boring. Yeah? Well, that's not deep enough. I need something a little bit deeper. That's too deep. Is that the right size? That's way too big. That's it, that's the size. There you go. And we'll have that as where I start from the game. So there we got our map. Yeah. And now what I'm going to do with this map now is I'm actually now going to add all the little textures around the side of it. So I'm now going to go to the cliff and edges and just start filling them in so they don't look smooth. Yeah. So I'm now going to add the little edges. So if you look here, if I go to my terrain tool, and I'm going to look at cliff and ledges, I'm going to take these little boxes here, and I'm going to just start filling them in. And I'm going to put those around the edges. So you find here now, as I go through, I can now change this map up. So as I go down here, you'll see is I can drop this in, so I can drop that into that place, and just try and make him odd. Don't try and keep it uniformed, but I'll try and put different spaces. See, I'll change a different shape so it goes odd and even. Just vary it up, but I'm going to just basically try and put all these little, as many I can, around the edge of the map. Yeah, starts off around the side of the screen. Okay, and in a second I'm just going to jump through now and show you where I get through it to the end. So let's just speed this up now because it's now getting a bit boring. So if you now look, I've gone through the map, and there, presto, that's now what the map looks like. It's that same shape, but with all those little curved edges going around the edge, and you get like it looks like an island. I quite like the effect. It's quite easy to do, and it's not just a straight boring shape. And that is just by putting the edges on. And you'll see I've got a couple of straight lines which I don't like, so I'll get rid of those. But it's not a bad little method. But the map itself doesn't look that big. But remember, your character is so small in that area. At least I should have halved it. Yeah. So I've got a couple of areas, and this was purely by chance. Look at this. I didn't even plan this, by the way. Oh, that fits in there. That one fits in there, and that in those boxes. So purely by chance, they missed it. If not, I'd have picked a smaller piece. And it just gets rid of the shape. Just takes the shape away, and it gives you that odd scenario. So there we go. There is our map, and it looks quite handy, quite neat. And as you'll see directly underneath it, we've got all our logic all placed out. And as I move into it, you'll see that the map doesn't get in the way. I can see that quite clearly, and that's why I like the height. It's quite good with height. So I know just now to put the landscape around the edge. We need to basically move some of these objects as well. So what you see here is I just jumped to the end of the map. I'm going to move now these spawn areas back up to top. So at the very end, this is my Darth Vader challenge. And by the way, when we defeat Darth Vader, that's when the game ends. So I send a challenge back to a marker saying game finished. But Darth Vader's going to appear there. Now I've put these on first before I do the landscape, because obviously you can't put any object inside the boss generator. So nothing can go inside that box. So that's why I put these on first. Yeah, you can't put them, because when you go, if they go over the next person, it won't let you do that. So that's why I wanted to make sure they were on. So when I go and put the terrain on it, it won't be in its way. Okay, let's go and grab the next one. Right, and this is just to show you how quick you can put this together. Now this game, I hadn't planned to even build this game, but I just wanted to show how quickly anyone can build a game, and whatever level you are. Some of you saying you can't do the logic. You can structure it correctly, and the more you play with it, the more actually you can say, I need this, I need that to go with it. But I find the biggest thing that you do is not actually putting the thing together, it's testing it and then finding what doesn't work. If you're one of those people that play games and then say, oh God, look at this doesn't work, oh this doesn't work, oh this is shocking. When you try and build it together, you realise when you play back how hard it is to make a game flow. And those poor game designers that put these things together, they have to get everything correct, everything's got to work. I do like playing Rainbow Six, and the servers were down the other day, and the people just said, "Oh, I can't believe they've got it work." It's quite a tricky task to do, but well, they got it working in the end. Now, as you'll see here, I'm using the fantasy train object. Okay, and what I'm going to do now is don't think too much about it. Really, I'm going to go through each one of these objects, and I'm going to place these all over the place. Now, these fantasy trees, I don't like them, but I'm just going to go and set them all up. And as I've shown you with my hidden objects, these are those clusters, the production clusters. So when they change, they will be different shapes, and this will give the environment different each time. So I'm just going to spread different shapes and try and keep it, and basically I'm trying to make it random as possible. And the best way to be random is don't think about it. Don't try and repeat yourself. So here you see I'm putting 4 together, here I've done 3, here I'm going to do a different shape with one of the others. Alright, I'm going to try and do different shapes, but try and be random. Yeah, try not to think this too hard. The more you scattered all over the place, the better the map will actually appear. It really is quite easy. And just scatter them on. And you'll see here I'm just chucking them across. Put them in different areas. At first glance it looks a bit odd and weird, but trust me, it works quite well. Just keep filling them in wherever you can find places to put them. So here we go. This is my end map where I've chucked all these objects. You'll see here I've chucked in some rocks and mountains as well, just to throw it off the space. I had some gaps in there, so I put some building blocks, and that's how my map now looks. And that's it. And that will now change every time because it's the environment. And that's the setting. So all we've got to do now is bring up certain other little settings. So we've now got to bring these items across. So I'm now going to scatter these on. Now you see I've got 3 left out of the 5, but I've actually already put the 5 on. So what I'm going to do now is click onto these and now move these up. Yeah, and I'm scattering these around so that they're available in different places. So you just click on, when you highlight them, click on X and you can move them across. Okay, so I've set those all up. You'll see I've got another one over there on the screen. You move back down. And you move all these items across. So let's grab the other one. Let's keep moving around. I'll chuck another one over here. Again, not thinking too hard where to place these. But because the map and environment does change, I couldn't remember it. I can never find them. They always seem to be in a different place, and they don't move. These are all in the exact same place, but because the environment changes, it does throw you slightly. So the landscape marks tend to give you a little bit of a clue. But I think the map is too big in this particular case. And one of the reasons the map's too big is that sometimes when you don't think the wave's over, what you'll find is there's a person wandering around and you can't find them, so it's trying to track them down. So that's a little flaw. If it was a smaller map, then I'd find them more on the screen. Right, so we've now got those places set up. So what happens when we die? Yeah, in fact it's not when we die, sorry, our locators. I'm now going to move our locators up. And I could stagger them going backwards so they keep appearing in different waves. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put locator here, and I'm going to try and keep them in different places. Now what I did also is, you'll notice here, look, you'll see there that one, I did tweak it slightly. I could have just left it one spot at a time, and I think looking back at this I would have just left it as the one that I showed you at the beginning. But what I basically did is I linked all the wave energies to the other gate, so they were spread out more. But the map's too small for that, so I wouldn't bother doing that next time. I will just keep it as a single place. So click onto those locators where the enemies are going to spawn. And again, I'm going to stagger those all the way across. So I'm going to stagger them now, and hopefully as they move further into the game, I'm going to place them further back. That's the plan anyway. Okay, so I've moved all the locators. Right, they've all gone, so they've all now moved out the way. So what we're going to do now is, I've got my when you die option. Right, so in this case I'm going to have to move these items. So that is my respawn, that when you die. So I'm going to lift that up, and that gets moved up on the screen, and I'm going to put that right out the way, hopefully facing the right direction. So I've got that little corner there. I'm going to stick them there in the corner, hopefully somewhere where you won't go. I'm just thinking you're not really going to go there. It's the end of the map. There's nothing to do it. The environment pushes you to go forward, so hopefully the user won't do it. Okay, and then I'm going to stick the trigger area right in front of that. Now, admittedly, if you play with Thor, you could jump over the top of it and miss it. But remember, this is all invisible when you're playing the game, so I'm trying to make it really hard for the user to just realise it. They've respawned, game's over. Okay, so I'm going to make that too thick at the moment, because they could go the other way, so in fact, let's make it a little bit thinner. So I'm going to have that there, make it thinner, I'm just going to then move that in front of the box. There you go, so that goes in front of it. So therefore, that's just so when they spawn, they are going to enter the box, and that will trigger the game to end. Yeah, in fact, I might move that a little bit further back, and I believe the red dot's got to be facing to the right. That will mean I'm facing forward. So I'm going to instantly want to run forward and touch that box. Okay, that's that good. So let's bring in our other items. This Disney Infinity is where our character will appear when we load the level up, so let's move that straight up. Now obviously you can do this two-player, you can fight together and then hopefully revive each other, but although I am going to share those that are made on PS4, this is quite an easy game to build, and like I say, I've gone full hog and I've done 15 levels, but you can easily do 10, and you can make those 10 really hard. But I've had different people to attack, so what we get there is we have them on different waves. So I've got my map, that's where I'll load up, the user goes through. So now theoretically I don't need to see, I don't want to be able to see that level, so I'm going to just basically put those walls all the way around the box. And that's roughly it. Then that'll be hidden from the user won't see it. That logic's still there. I can come back and I can edit the logic, I can reset, and it's in an organised manner for allowing me to work out what I did. So when I look back at this in a couple of weeks' time, it's all done. If you look at my level on how that survival game, you could do something that's very similar to this, and that survival game probably works better because in that case the map was small, and the map on that one was probably about the right size. It was compact, it kept the fight quite close. You can also do it where when you spawn you have a load of henchmen with you to fight it off. So there you go, you've got the front bit there where we can go in and edit it if we ever need to, so I can always go back in there and change that, but that it will be hidden out of the way, and you'll see just the right height so it doesn't get in the way. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to jump back into my game where I'm halfway through a level. So we'll just see it further on in the game after we've done after we've just killed Marco. And by the way, if you haven't seen John Wick, go watch it. I know the new one's out this week, but it's a great film. Absolutely love it. So I hope you liked what you saw. So you'll see here, I've just jumped straight back in the action. Right, there's the little boxes. And if you watch from the clips here, is when it does change. Now this is the bit I've said the map's too big. You'll see here, why hasn't it? I've killed all the enemies, where are they? And that guy got trapped in there, I couldn't find him. So now I have wave 9, everything changes on the screen. Here they all come again. And I've got some harder levels in here now to make it harder. And because it changes the environment, I don't know where those other boxes are. I get very confused whether I'm at the front, middle now, or the end. And also, some things I thought wouldn't work actually do work quite well. Remember, these are just scattered in here, and all those trees have just changed over. Well, I hope you enjoyed making this one. It's actually quite good. It's one of those games you can carry on playing. And if you don't, and if you do this after the 3rd of March, it will still work fine. It will still allow you to do it. You just won't be able to do the text box, but you can get it say next wave appear on the screen, so you can still build this. Just won't be able to add the story to it. And mine it's based on John Wick. Right. So again, my map's too big. Look at this. Where is the next person? So I shoot to try and attract the people. See, my map is too big here, and that's where I'd get bored thinking, oh, there he is. Got to track them down. That's my only flaw with this particular game. I've got it too big on the map. Right, I need more men. And some environments which I didn't think worked, so let's stop John Wick, is Darth Maul now in here. And Darth Maul, by the way, is really hard to defeat. So he's quite a good boss. I quite like him. But look at this. I mean, I would never have designed a map like this in Automate Generator, and it actually works really well. Having it just chucked randomly in the air actually does look quite good. There he is. So the problem with Darth Maul is he blocks your shots. Look, I don't have hardly any. So I quite like him, so it's quite a good one. Got a couple in there. I found jumping over him and getting from behind allows me to get hit in. But I actually did die on this level. Well, anyway, please tag that you like these clips. It does help me if you can put a like on them if you think what I've done was good. Keep firing the comments in. I think the latest comment is, I know someone's already asked this before, but wants me to do like a World War I trench warfare. Working on it, trying to think of something that comes up. I will be posting more throughout the year. I think I've got one more, maybe two more before the 3rd of March. But thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy it. I hope your level's a lot more fun when you come to making it yourself. Thanks a lot, guys. Catch you later.